clarity of scope is really important.
Yeah.
And it's then that bit of, if someone wants more, they need to pay more. And this is a big problem, because I don't care what anyone says, we sell time. Time's intangible. It's not like we're seeing someone take something off the shelf and you're looking and going, you've only bought 4 of those and you're taking 5. With time, it's kind of gone. We've not really kind of quantified it. We just work harder. We're losing so much on the table before we even start thinking about advisory or holding our clients to account. So the basics, we need to get those bits right. That will free up the time, will give us more profit, that we can hire more people, that then enables us to do the really, really kind of exciting stuff.
Hello, and welcome to today's podcast, Behind the Numbers, the podcast that seeks the personalities in the finance and technology industry. But before I dive into our special guest today, I'd like to remind you that today's podcast is brought to you by Kinetic Core AI. Kinetic Core AI are a firm that help companies grow their revenue within 12 months. So if you're interested in a free growth consultancy, drop the word grow in the DMs and we can have a chat. So I'm really pleased to have our special guest today, Jonathan Gaunt, hailing all the way from Bristol, part of the world where I'm from as well, kindred spirits in that regard. Jonathan is a super busy man. He's parallel running two companies, FD Works and Socket. The notoriety he's receiving with Socket at the moment, I believe that we had Xero's most valuable professional in 2024 as an accolade. So that's clearly making some significant waves in that industry as well. So let's really dive in to see how these two things work together, how he's got time to do anything else apart from work, and really get under the skin of his background, where he's come from, and the motivations for the future. So Jonathan, really great to have you on today, and thanks for dialing in.
My pleasure, Matthew. You're super excited to kind of share my story. Hopefully it will kind of inspire a few people to almost get out of that comfort zone, because I think sometimes it's too easy to be in it.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And it sounds like you really are doing that. Yeah, just give us a bit of a flavour of your background, where you've come from, and the sort of foundations and the blocks that have sort of built up to get you to where you are today.
So I guess I'm going to go right the way back, because I think it created a little fire which burnt so slowly and got brighter and brighter as I got older. So growing up, I worked in quite a few owner managed businesses, so bike shops, cycle suppliers, and I always looked up to those small business owners, thinking one day I'd like to do that. And why was really because they were a little bit more in control of their own destiny. I went into the corporate route, so I'm a chartered management accountant by background. I worked for British Gas, National Grid, and then I went into banking. So I've been, I say blessed by having some brilliant people that I've worked with, got loads of experience, lots of exposure, and loved it. But I was always a little bit frustrated that I was always in the control of someone else, giving me opportunities. You could do so much, but there was always like a limitation of, yes, you can do this, you can only get a certain amount of pay rise. And so I was always kind of looking for something different to do. I worked in the Middle East between 2007 and 2010 with Lloyds Banking Group. And suddenly that was the whole bit of, I got to experience a small business. So small business, I'm saying it had 300 people in it. But what I'm really excited is there was a problem. You could walk out of a room and then you could go and have conversations with people that were experiencing the problem, and then you could put a fix in place. And I loved it. And it was like the first time in my real kind of career that I'd been able to make change happen, and make change happen very, very quickly. All good things come to an end. Came back to the UK and I had to fit back into that large kind of machine that took ages. And in fact, it's almost like walking into a room with the same people telling you why you couldn't do something. And I thought that's a sign of madness. Same time, I helped a friend with a small business, and he exposed me to a dragon called Richard Farley. And Richard challenged me and he said, don't tell me why I can't do this. Tell me what I need to do different in order to make this happen. And that was like a light bulb moment. And I realized that actually small businesses lacked that finance expertise. And then that really kind of shaped my career from kind of 2012 onwards.
So is that the philosophy now that you sort of impart when you're with FD Works and Socket, in terms of like driving the business forward, in terms of that mentality?
Absolutely. And I think this is the whole kind of bit of we need to be, there's a few things in there. Master of your own destiny. It's about being kind of creative and thinking about how can I make this work. But for me, it's that bit of the real power of finance. Like genuinely, if you understand your numbers, if you can help other people to understand their numbers, I think it gives you confidence. And with confidence, you can change the world. Yeah. I love being a finance professional. And I've been through periods where someone would say to me, "What are you?" And I would hide behind, "I'm a banker," because I didn't want to be known as an accountant. And then 2010, I didn't want to be known as a banker.
Yeah.
And so it was like an accountant. But now I'm quite proud to say, yeah, I'm an accountant and I absolutely love it. And it's the best job in the world.
Excellent. Very good. So how did just tell me about, so you talked about FD Works in terms of that transition period.
Yeah.
Tell me about Socket then. What was the genesis of that? How did that come about? And what was your sort of driving motivation for starting it?
Yeah. So I guess Socket is our second kind of foray into accounting tech. Actually, if we roll back to 2018, 2019, conversations with one of our clients who were software engineers, they were getting frustrated that they were building for software for someone else. The software was kind of going places and then they were getting left behind because they were bringing the kind of development resources in-house. And I flippantly said, "I wish I could code." And so Rich challenged me and he said, "Well, what would you build?" So we started off by building a forecasting tool. That didn't work, and it didn't work because of data quality. And then we did a massive pivot, and that was where we discovered Xavier Analytics, of almost like this blue ocean. Imagine if we could show you what good quality data looks like. Imagine if we can shine the light on where it's not quite right. And so that was really the first bit of going, we can take all of these spreadsheets that we've been building, give them to someone who can engineer a quality solution, and then you can accelerate. So that was Xavier. It got acquired by Dext, and then we worked at Dext. I was still part-time at FD Works. We got a little bit kind of itchy in terms of we've got this desire to build that we then left at the beginning of 2023. And it was like, what we're going to build. We spent 6 months in FD Works playing around with various ideas, and we kept on coming back to proposals are at the center of everything you do, but they weren't being done particularly well. So it was almost that bit of, right, okay, we can see this problem. What would the best solution look like? And that's really where we've started the building of Socket and kind of what it's evolved into today.
Okay. And so for the listeners then, just explain a little bit about the capability that Socket provides.
Okay. So Socket is around how do you get that consistency of pricing within your practice. So it's kind of starting with pricing. It's then every opportunity that comes into the business, the lead, how do you price consistently for it? But then that pricing automatically kind of flows into letters of engagement. Once you've got that all signed off, how do you then trigger the workflows that happen within your practice? How do you do the billing? And then you've got that virtuous cycle of just going round and round. And we've kind of said we want to bring it all together, but it's driven by an open API as well. So if you've got your own systems that you want to kind of link into it, we want to create that openness for you.
Yeah, that sounds great. So in terms of sort of the methodology, it sounds like you're very much like thinking as a sort of software, agile development type company in terms of I've got a business problem, I'm going to try and solve it and I'm going to fail fast, I'm going to learn quick and I'm going to move on to the next thing. Do you think, has that helped you to really shape Socket's proposition and its position and its ability to solve a problem for the market that it has?
Yeah. So I think with all of the projects we've done, where we've started is, okay, we've got a problem. How do we solve that problem for us? And so it's then about getting it good enough for us to start kind of using it. And then as soon as you start using it, you'll get feedback from the team of going, could it? And then that's the bit where we then start to kind of like give it to 2, give it to 3, give it to 4, and then it kind of snowballs from there. But I think the most important thing is constantly having those conversations with the people around you, with your users, in terms of how are you using it? Give us the feedback. And so I think that's really, really important. We spend so much time with our clients, with prospects, in terms of understanding what they're trying to do and how they're doing it, and then we can just feed that back into the product and make it better and better and better. So it's a balance of having, we don't want to grow too quickly because you lose that intimacy and you lose that ability of understanding what's going on. We also encourage everyone within the team to be having conversations with clients. So, for example, we just done the Zero Roadshows, and Ben and Oliver, who were developers, came along to the London show. And that was invaluable because they're having conversations. The following day, Oliver's straight back and he's building a solution because someone's asked for it the day before.
Awesome.
So for me, it's different to perhaps the norm, but it's so important, and it just makes it a lot more satisfying when we can have conversations with people and solve real problems.
Yes, so solve real world problems, right? Yeah, and I love the way that you're using, FD Works as like your requirements, demand management, sort of test bed as well, and the synergies that you've got with the sort of development arm as well, and how those two work interoperable together. So that sounds like you've got a really great thing going on there. So yeah, tell me a little bit. It sounds like you're a busy man. What does a day-to-day look like for you then?
So I've got a trusted team at FD Works, and so even before Socket, I've always tried to kind of pull back in terms of what's my role. I see my role as being a leader, setting the direction as to where we want to go, but also then to be the kind of the coach. So I've got lots of experience. I'm better off sharing that experience with my team than I am physically kind of doing it. So unless I push people into their kind of adventure zone, they will never get that kind of experience. So I've always pushed people, but they're been there to support them. So that's great that I don't need to be there on a day-to-day basis. I've got really, I'd say, one or two clients that are the only day-to-day relationship that I have. And so that's quite easy to manage. What I then do is almost Socket's taken up a huge amount of my kind of time, but then I'll probably still kind of like on reflection, I'll work most evenings, I'll work most weekends, but actually I enjoy working. I've got one son, he's not at home anymore. So I'd say I've got more time around evenings and weekends. And if I wasn't working, I'd be sat in front of the TV watching crap TV. So I might as well sit in front of a screen having fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, you can find time for what you think's important.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. So give us a bit of insight into what you're hearing and seeing from like customers, behavior change, how they're adapting to the market, and what that means for how you're having to adapt as well.
I think what's really interesting is I wonder who's in control of their business an awful lot, because I think there's definitely bits of it's our business. We should be more in control of how we operate. And so it still surprises me the amount of people that are paying annually for work as opposed to monthly for work. And I think it's kind of interesting of how can we use software to drive some of these decisions that almost kind of put you more in control of things. I think we're also, and this isn't a Socket bit, but I think it's more my view of the world is I think we hide behind being busy of, well, I've got to do the bookkeeping. I can't automate it, or I've got to do the compliance. So I think that actually we're still seeing people who aren't letting go as much as they could be and they should be. And what that translates into is a lot of people being very busy and not making enough money. What I'm hoping to do with Socket is almost like that bit of how can we get them into a better practice of pricing properly, reviewing the work that you're doing for your clients on a frequent basis. So, for example, we've just built something called price monitoring, and that will enable you to be able to upload transaction volume, so number of employees, number of bank transactions, and then it will almost calculate that within the software to say, hey, Matthew, that client should be £500 more per month.
Yeah.
And so it's just really kind of like unlocking the information you've got and holding us more to account.
Yeah. So you're seeing that you think there's money being left on the table then by firms whereby they're not charging an appropriate amount based on the volume that they're having to deal with.
Yeah. I think like at the most basic level, we're not charging for the work that we're doing. So in a simple example, we started capturing what we call work orders. So it's almost this bit of, can you do this for me? And so the thought process that you should go through is check the proposal. Are they paying us to do it already? The answer is no. Then you should be kind of going back to them and say, yes, I can do that work for you, but there will be a cost. And ultimately, you're either going to get a yes, please go ahead and do that for me, or don't do it because it doesn't need to be done, or I'll do it myself. And we were finding that there's almost an extra 10% monthly kind of revenue that we're generating. And previously, we were probably doing that for free. So straight away, it's almost like that education bit of just reconfirming what you're doing for someone. And it's not almost because they're paying you on a monthly basis, doesn't mean you have to do absolutely everything for them. Clarity of scope is really important.
Yeah.
And it's then that bit of, if someone wants more, they need to pay more. And this is a big problem because I don't care what anyone says, we sell time. Time's intangible. It's not like we're seeing someone take something off the shelf and you're looking at it and going, you've only bought 4 of those and you're taking 5. With time, it's kind of gone. We've not really kind of quantified it. We just work harder. And so I think that's a big thing. We're losing so much on the table before we even start thinking about advisory or holding our clients to account. So the basics, we need to get those bits right. That'll free up the time, will give us more profit, that we can hire more people, that then enables us to do the really, really kind of exciting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you seeing the market take to your proposition then? And that story that you told there is very compelling. Yeah. Is it resonating?
Absolutely. I think what we're seeing is we've been seen as a more reliable platform. So we are picking up people from other platforms. What we're also doing as well is we've built an enterprise solution. So we have the capability to work with far bigger firms as well because of the robustness of the platform. So we're having some really good conversations with the larger firms, but I'm still surprised about the amount of people who have no pricing system whatsoever or who are pricing in an email. And there's no consistency. And I just think that that's putting more pressure on firm owners because they're the only ones who can price. And we all know that I'll put my hand up, I'm rubbish at pricing. I almost I'll just let that slip through, whereas my team are way more ruthless than me. And it's almost like, no, that's how we charge for it. Bosh, that's the answer.
I think there's a bit of a lack of appreciation of the value as well. So people don't realize how much value they're adding by doing what they're doing. And so they undervalue themselves, and that manifests itself in like less revenue, etc.
Totally. But I don't think we're having those conversations because value is in the eye of the beholder.
Correct.
For me to understand what you value, I've got to have a conversation with you. I've got to probe it a little bit more. And I think that's the bit that sometimes we don't spend enough time understanding our prospects or our clients around what's their pains, what have they tried in the past, what didn't work. Because I think when you understand that bit, you can add so much more value. You can solve the pain as opposed to that generic bit of what you want is bosh, 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 bosh. It should be, let's have the conversation first of all, and then let's me answer how I can help you.
Yeah, absolutely the right way round. So tell us, what's the vision then? Where do you want to be in 5 years?
Where do I want to be 5 years? I get excited because I think there's so many options in terms of problems to be solved. So I think the accounting industry has got a long, long way. I'm absolutely loving the ride with Socket. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Maybe we sold Xavier Analytics too soon. I'm enjoying the builds. I'm enjoying the kind of the conversation. So I want to go deeper, way, way deeper with Socket. The plans are, let's win Australia, New Zealand. Let's win North America. It feels as though what we're building is kind of perfect for the Xero ecosystem. So why don't we kind of expand off the back of that? Where else do we go with Socket? I think there's opportunities of onboardings not being done particularly well, but there's other big problems which I don't think people have addressed from a technology point of view. Payroll's one that I keep coming back to of going, it could be way slicker, but who knows what's the impact of AI? So actually, do we see accountants and bookkeepers building their own software solutions? So with the likes of Lovable, you can kind of see people kind of creating things, but actually how robust are they? Because I still believe you need to be a bit of an expert. And so I wonder whether there's then people that are building these business critical systems and it then trips them up because when it breaks, they're clueless as to how does it structure. But I think we're in a perfect position of almost like, what's a problem? How do we solve it? I've done something quite fun with my son. We've built a tool which will scrape the HMRC portal. So it will go in, use your agent login, and then it will literally go in there and it'll scrape all of the kind of records for all of your clients. Now, that's not something that we would probably do under a Socket umbrella, but my son's studying software engineering at university. He wants some more money. So it's like a perfect kind of like hacky type project that it works now. Does it work tomorrow? Who knows? Because HMRC might change the portal. But I can kind of see there's a few hacky like things like that I'm quite keen to kind of solve for.
Yeah, no, sounds great. And so what about the next 12 months or near-term future for you guys?
Next 12 months, I think it's very much head down. Let's carry on the growth journey in the UK. Rich, my business partner, has moved from the UK back to New Zealand. So that gives us a strong footing into Australia. So I went to Xerocon this year. Part of that was about exploring the market with Rich. We see that as a real kind of growth area. But for me personally, it's about doubling down on the UK and letting Rich kind of focus on what are the opportunities in Australia and beyond.
Awesome. Sounds like an exciting time coming up. So I always ask this question of every guest. What one piece of advice would you give your 18-year-old self, which would have stood you in good stead for your journey in finance and tech?
It's an interesting one because I don't think I would change much. I think some of it is about go out there and get as much experience as possible. So it's very much a case of you are the master of your own destiny. You create opportunities. I think the bit I would probably be is a bit more confident around have more conversations with people. Certainly when I was younger, I was a little bit shy. I'm a natural introvert, but actually I've had to force myself to be a little bit more of an extrovert. And I think that's probably the thing I would say is keep on asking, because the worst that will happen is people will say no, but actually you'll be really, really surprised about the number of people that say yes.
Yeah.
And who
Great
knows where
advice.
you're going to end up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, indeed. And I can see it's an exciting future for you guys ahead. If any listeners want to find out a bit more about yourself, Socket and FD Works, excuse me, could you let us know where to find you?
LinkedIn's probably a great place. So Jonathan Gaunt on LinkedIn, I'll kind of say, come and say hello there. Or my email address is john@usocket.com.
Very good. Well, many thanks for coming on. It's been an incredibly insightful conversation. I like your philosophy. I like the way that you're clearly operating. Well, and you're a busy man and you're operating on two fronts, but clearly there's synergy there as well. And yeah, I look forward to hearing more about what's going on in your space in the future and seeing where Socket takes you. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, Matthew. Been a pleasure.